Once upon a time, your GoPro was the go-to action camera to get on the market. Fast forward to now, we have the likes of the DJI Action 5 Pro, which could possibly give the GoPro a run for its money. Now, these are both new. There's the latest and greatest from both brands. And in this video, we're going to compare them to see which one is best for you. Starting with the design, where we look at both devices. So on our right, well, my right, I have the Action 5 Pro, and on the left is the GoPro Hero 13 Black. So the naming scheme are kind of weird in a way that the Pro doesn't necessarily mean it gives you any Pro feature, or there's another version that isn't Pro. So it's just what you get. Same as the Hero 13 Black. Before, if you guys remember, the Black used to be the one that gives you everything, the greatest and the latest, all that stuff. But now it doesn't really matter. If we look at this now, so we have similar buttons all around it. So for example, if you look up top, there's the record button. And then if we look to the side here, for example, you see that you got the latch opening. So for example, on the Hero 13 Black, this is where you'd see your battery and USB-C port and also micro SD card slot to put your storage card in. And on the DJI, if we just open that, you see this is where you also get your battery and SD card slot. One thing that's great about the DJI is this has got a built-in memory as well, which we'll talk about later on, which means technically you don't need to put an SD card in there at all, which is great. It means if you forget, which sometimes I often forget, you don't have to worry about anything on the DJI. And then if you look on the other side, we do get the power button. But what I also like about the DJI is you can then set this power button to also be your quick selection button as well. So you can quickly select things that you've set to it. It means when you're just in a rush, you see something that's, just there very quickly, you can just press that change mode to like, photo, time lapse, whatever. You can do that very quickly. On both devices, on the back, we get the LCD displays on the back, which are touch sensitive as well. On the DJI, you get OLED display on there, which is much better in terms of color accuracy. So you can quickly see what you're shooting on there before you even get to your laptop or anything like that. Of course, the DJI sticks with LCD, which is a shame. And then we look on the front, again, we both get display on both of them. The difference is here, though, is on the Action 5 Pro, you can actually touch that screen and use and control things from the front as well. Obviously, it would lock, so you don't accidentally do things as well if you want to do that. Next, we have the lenses itself. So on the DJI, we get a wider field of view. And what you can also do is get third-party filters for this, so like ND filters and all that kind of stuff, which is nice. But the GoPro takes this one here because this lens here, we can change this mod. So for example, I can twist this and take off this ultra wide angle lens mod that I've got here. And with that, it means you can add different ones as well. But what's also cool about this, which I'll talk more when I show you the rest of the accessories, is you get this blue dot on there, which matches up with the camera itself. And what that allows you to do is the camera can actually know when this is connected. So this is actually digitally connected in some sort of way. Which means if you then connect your ND filters, it will tell you if you need to step it down or if you need to step it up to get better footage, which I think is pretty smart. Speaking of accessories, there's loads of accessories available for the GoPro. But what I love, like I was saying, the possibility to add all these accessories here. So you have ND 32, 16, 8, and also I've got the ultra wide at the moment, but you can also add this macro lens as well, which you can add. And also it's got this like focus ring on the macro lens as well. If you want to find out more in detail, I've done a video on the GoPro, so do watch that, which gives you more information about all this stuff. But what's great about it is that blue dot, which means when you match it up, the camera knows that you've connected this and all the settings would adjust dynamically to whichever filter you've added to the camera itself, which I think is pretty cool. The DJI though has the opportunity to also get an extra pack, which then means you can use the DJI Mic 2 connected to it. Having said that though, the GoPro also allows you to connect Bluetooth microphones as well. So technically you can connect your DJI Mic 2 if you have one already. You can connect that to your GoPro as well. One thing that I need to mention as well is the ability to add the cage on both devices. So you can add this on the DJI, and the GoPro allows you to add the mod cage as well, which allows you to do various other things if you wish to do so. If we look at the bottom of the devices though, one thing that's pretty cool, this new design here. So on the bottom of each, you can see you've got this latch design. But one thing that's cool on the DJI though is you can still use the actual thread. It's still there for your tripod mount and stuff like that. But at the same time, you can still use the new latch quick release stuff, which connects like so, and it's there. And if you need to take it off, you press that and take it off like that. So if you have loads of connectors, attachments and stuff, you don't have to detach this bit. You can just unscrew or just remove that quickly and you're good to go, which is pretty cool. It's the same as well on the DJI. So you get this, you can just attach it onto the DJI and you're good to go as well. One thing I do find sometimes though is on the DJI it can be a bit of a faff to connect this. Sometimes I worry if that's fully connected properly. But once it's fully connected and you've checked before you start recording or start doing something crazy, then you're good to go. It's connected, ready to go. So there's no issues there at all. Let me know what you think in the comments below in terms of the design and the accessories, the attachment, and everything that you can do with this. Next, let's talk about the batteries. So the GoPro Hero 13 Black has a 1900 mAh battery, which should give you up to 2.5 hours of record time and up to 1.5 record time when it comes to 5.3K recording. And then when we come to the DJI, we're looking at 1950 mAh battery, which is slightly better and should give you up to 4 hours of record time with Wi-Fi and screen off. So that's some sort of way to get around that. One thing to do bear in mind though is the battery life is just a small part of the story. The next part of the story, or the bigger part for me, is the fact that they use different processing technology in there, in the processor that we have there, which matters when it comes to how efficient the batteries are. So for example, on the DJI, we have a 4nm process, and on the GoPro, we have the old school 12nm process, which means it's not as efficient as what you'd get on the DJI. And this is another way for DJI to get around this battery life situation, which means you will get better battery life on the DJI versus the GoPro, and also means things like processing footage on device, or when it comes to quickly recording and stuff like that, it's much faster on the DJI. Next, let's talk about the sensors and what actually matters the most here. The GoPro Hero 13 Black will give you 27 megapixel sensor in there, which is 1.9 inch, and it's capable of recording up to 5.3K video. The Osmo Action 5 is 40 megapixel with 4K video. You got a larger 1.3 inch sensor in there, and you have 13.5 stops of dynamic range, which really matters, especially for me anyway. So things like low light image quality will be better, and you get greater native dynamic range on the Osmo compared to the other one. However, the DJI doesn't offer the dedicated HDR modes that you get in the GoPro Hero 13 Black. So the GoPro will give you standard HDI and H-Log HDR as well. But the thing is, you shouldn't get hung up on that, because the 40 megapixel for me really matters when it comes to still images. But when it comes to the videos, you get more with the GoPro. And what you can do as well, if you really want to get smart, is if you shoot things in 5.3K on the GoPro, you can always look at the frames, download an app on the Mac, for example, and select individual frames afterwards. That gives you higher resolution technically. So I won't get too hung up on that. But obviously, out of camera, straight up, you will be getting more on the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. Next, to some people that go surfing and all that kind of stuff, obviously you would care about waterproofing. The Osmo Action 5 Pro will give you 20 meter of waterproof with no case, and you also get a gauge as well, so that's pretty useful for most people. I don't do that kind of activity, so it doesn't really matter to me, but you do also get that 47 gigabytes of built-in storage on there with that depth gauge that's set already. That depth gauge as well also allows you to do things like starting and stopping your shooting automatically when entering and leaving the water, which is pretty good. And obviously you can do something similar on the GoPro by getting the mud or cage or whatever you want to get for it to still be able to achieve that aim there as well. But I think having that as something that's just natively there already without having to buy any accessories, it just gives it that edge over the GoPro in this area. So let's do a power on speed test. So just press them at the same time. So you can see how quickly the DJI switched on there. It's so much faster. So we have the screen there, like I was saying, you have OLED display on the DJI, which allows it to look a bit, you know, the blacks are better, the colors just looks much nicer and more natural there rather than on the GoPro. And then on the front, like I was talking about the display as well, so you can see us there. You are able to operate the DJI there, as you can see, so you can switch to different things. Just makes it easier to use. But on the GoPro, you either have to use your phone app to control that, or you'd have to physically touch this screen here to start controlling things and so on. And I love how the DJI also locks the screen, so as you can see there, I can't really tap anything. But I believe the GoPro actually has a setting to do that as well, so I wouldn't get hung up on that either. Anyway, this is the interface. As you can see, very similar again. It just gives you the battery life that's available, tells you whether you got storage in there or not on the GoPro, for example there, and pretty much straightforward. On the main screen, we can go into settings very easily on both again. So you can see there, you got auto there and you got pro mode, which allows you to do things like auto white balance. You can change the format from JPEG, RAW, etc. But obviously that would change depending on which mode you have it in. So if I do the quick option here, photo. So you can see there's some photo. We'll go into photo, change to video. Now when we go to settings, we get different options available to us there. So you got stability stuff, so you got daily, you got sport, so you probably have on daily if you're someone who just use it out and about on daily basis like it says, and then you got this adjustment here as well. But the main thing here is, if I just confirm that, if you go to pro, you then get more options available. So you have exposure settings, white balance settings, color settings. So in color, you can go to normal 10-bit, you can go H-log 10-bit there as well. You got D-log M 10-bit, which most people are going to use. But what's also pretty cool here that I really like is the color recovery, which you get when you update your DJI. With the color recovery, it just means when you're shooting, you can see straight away what that actually looks like before you start color grading and all that stuff, which I find really helpful. It just means you're not going to get stuff that's overexposed or anything like that. So that's something that you should probably switch on if you're going to be using it. And then you got your stability stuff and also your image adjustment there. So image adjustment, again, you can customize this. So you got things like texture and noise reduction, so you can adjust that to suit your preference again. Then we got things like your audio settings, so you can do channels, so you can do mono, stereo, and then you got your noise reduction as well. So depending on what you're shooting, so if you motor vlog, for example, like on a motorbike, you might want to change noise reduction settings to suit the preference there as well. Swiping up on the DJI, we give you options to change resolution settings. So we do have here 1080p there, so you can shoot 1080p if you scroll across up to 240 frames per second. And then we can do 2.7K 16:9, again, 120 frames there. You can do 4:3 as well. You can do 16:9 at 4K, 120, 4:3, 120 options available there. So just select what you prefer and you're good to go. Then we tap the right corner there. So you got things like rock steady, so that's stability stuff, rock steady plus. Whichever one you select will affect what you can select on the right as well. So you got standard DWAP settings there, rock steady, allows you to do both actually, which is cool. But yeah, that's pretty much what you get in the video settings there. And then you can sort of zoom in here as well, tap and hold to digital zoom. I wouldn't do that because it might affect the actual quality of what you record. In photo, again, when we swipe up, we can select different aspect ratios as well. So you got large and stuff, medium. Selecting the large 4:3 obviously give you the 40 megapixel mode. So select that if that's what you prefer. Tap the right corner, you can go to standard DWAP, or you can do wide if you want to shoot full wide there as well. And then you got your countdown timer if you want to have it on timer mode. And if you swipe from the right, we can select different mode. So video, photo, there's also super night mode, subject tracking, which is pretty cool. And then you got things like slow-mo and time-lapse option. If we go into slow-mo, for example, we can swipe up and see what options are there. So we can do up to 4K there at 4X. So you got 120 frames per second, which we've already gone through in case you missed that already. In super night mode, you will be limited in some areas. So for example, here resolution is up to 4K at 30 because obviously lighting matters when you're doing super light mode. So that makes complete sense that that's what you're able to shoot. Swap them around, so we look at the GoPro here. So again, the interface are kind of similar in some ways. So it's easy to get on with, easy to figure out where things are. We can scroll across for time lapse, scroll across again for video, scroll across again for photo. So you can just easily select them, wait a couple of like slight seconds for them to actually recognize what you're doing. On the left here, we have things like your horizon leveling. So you can go all the way up to get it locked, or you can have it off and play with that. And then you got your range here in terms of how wide you want it to be. So we can go all the way up to ultra hyper view there, which is 12 millimeters. You got 14 mil, and then we've got 16, and then we can go linear as well. So it depends on what you're shooting, so you can do that. But obviously that would matter in terms of what lens mod you've attached. So when I was saying when you attach your lenses, the camera notices what you've attached. So you can see there, this little blue dot here will tell you that I've attached something there, which is the ultra wide lens. So if, for example, if I was to take this off and attach my, let's go really high, and we'll do ND32 filter. And now, if you look up there, it says I've got ND32. And then if you look at the arrow that drops down there, it's telling me that's too much, that I need to drop the ND filter down. So in that case, for example, I'll take that off and maybe drop it down all the way to ND8, and that should probably change as well. So actually, if and now I've changed it to ND8. It's still saying it's too much because of obviously the environment in here. So if I was to move this a little bit, because it's obviously facing the table, you can see that that's changed. It keeps changing dynamically to let me know if it's enough or if it's too low, which is pretty cool. The only faff with that is you don't have to keep swapping them out to change it. So if you're in a rush to shoot stuff, that's probably not the ideal thing or ideal scenario for you. Then you got options for things like hyper smooth as well. So this is to do like your stabilization, so you can turn that on or off. And you can see there the wide not only lets me shoot wide only because I've taken off the this lens here, which is the ultra wide lens. I've taken that off, so that changes. You can change the aspect ratio as well. So you can shoot things like full frame, traditional, vertical, and you've also got your widescreen as well. What you can do with this one is if you shoot full frame, you can then go after the fact and then you can start cropping to different parts of it. So that way you can shoot in this format, horizontal, and still be able to get, for example, crop afterwards if you want 9:16 or whatever you want to do. So that could be useful for some people out there. If we tap here where it says video, we can see more options for all the settings that we have. So if you go to here where it says video, I can tap settings here. I can change things like HDR. I can select log. I can change the framing as well. So depending on what I want to shoot, scroll up, you can do things like 4K, 5.3K, frame rates there as well, 60 frames per second, for example, and hyper smooth. You can change all these settings like your sharpness, how much you want the Pro Tune stuff, the bitrate settings. You can change that as well. I think the bitrate is actually more on the GoPro versus the DJI, but not by much. So it just depends how you like it really, but I don't think that really matters much. So yeah, you can change all this stuff that we already know about the GoPro. So you can change that to suit your preference if you need to, but there's loads of stuff on there to play with. You might not spend some time tuning it, but once you've done it the first time, you're good to go. You can quickly tap that as well to go back, or tap it again to go back into it. You can create your own presets as well. You've got your burst slow-mo settings, so we can go into that and see what slow-mo options we have here. So you can see what we get there. So we get up to 400 available to us, which is very high, but only at 720p. So obviously the resolution will be affected in that area when it comes to that. So as you can see there, it's pretty much straightforward to use. Different settings are on the screen to select whenever you want. So it's just pretty much easy to find things in there as well. Although what I do find sometimes is all these settings, there's so much in there that sometimes you don't even know which one you might need, but that's what YouTube is for. There's so many people who've done tutorials on which settings to use and all that kind of stuff. So do watch those kind of tutorials, and even on GoPro's website or YouTube channel, they'll give you some of those tips as well. Both devices come with apps available as well. So the DJI uses DJI Mimo or Mimo app, which connects very quickly, very easily as well. So you can see some of my devices there as well that I've already got with DJI. But what you can do is you go to album, you can see your files if I have anything shot already, although there's nothing here. We got editor as well. So editor allows you to have loads of like different templates that you can apply to your shots if you wish to do so. And then we can go into camera button here, which allows us to see the camera itself in terms of what you can see on the camera, the interface, the settings. So you can scroll at the bottom here to shoot different modes. So like time lapse, hyperlapse, video, photo, etc. So if someone's controlling this remotely, they can have this in their hands and control different settings as you shoot in and, you know, change things, whatnot. So that's pretty much it in terms of the app, but do dive deeper if you get one of these to see what you need, or if you have any questions, drop them in the comments as well. And then for the GoPro app, the quick app is also pretty cool actually, to be fair. You can upload to the cloud, so you have your stuff there to edit wherever you are. You got your media there, so you can see all the stuff that you've filmed before. And you got Studio as well, which allows you to do all kind of different edits. But what's also cool is they use AI as well for things like auto highlights. So if you quickly want to generate some sort of highlights from your highlight reel from an event or whatever you've shot, you can quickly do that using the app as well. And it's pretty quick as well, actually, to be fair. And then if we tap the GoPro in the corner here, we can control the camera remotely using the phone here as well. So we have things like 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, which allows you to transfer data much faster, which is new on the new GoPro. And also we have GPS built into the GoPro. They brought that back, which allows you to do things like overlay on your edits, which I'll quickly show you in a second as well. But yeah, on here you can do things like change different modes, as you can see there. And if you were to tap enable preview, you'll be able to see what the camera can see as well. So that allows you to quickly make sure you're framing correctly if you wish to do so. But in the edit that I was talking about, so with the GPS built into this, you can start to overlay things like you can see there, the track is there, you can see the speed I'm going at. So, and that would also update in real time as I'm going around the track. As you can see there, you can see the speed, you can see where I am on the track, which can be useful for different activities out there, so like car racing or whatever. You'll be able to see what you've done after the fact. So some cool little quirks there for you if you go for the GoPro camera. One more thing worth mentioning as well is with the DJI, depending on which pack you go for, you can also get this extra battery pack, which means you can charge 3 batteries simultaneously. But what's also cool about this is these can serve as a battery pack. So you can just connect via USB-C straight to your Osmo Action 5 Pro and start charging it whilst you're filming. But having said that though, the GoPro also allows you to get extra cage and latch connectivity, which allows you to then connect that to a power bank, which then means you can just leave this on direct power and you can record for as long as you need to record for, as long as it allows you to record for and you got memory for. So that's something to also bear in mind.
Okay then, first thing first, we're shooting log profile on both devices right now to see what that looks like. Obviously everyone's gonna grade their videos differently, so that's gonna show as well. We're gonna show the difference between graded them and not graded, so you guys can see the difference in the way that we do things. One thing to bear in mind here as well is straight away I can see on the screen right now that the GoPro is a lot flatter compared to Action 5 Pro, which sort of tells me that DJI sort of doing something to their log profile to give it a bit more pop or whatever. But like I said, everyone's going to grade differently, so it's entirely up to you. Right now we're also shooting 4K 60 on both. Basically the settings will be similar across this comparison, so you guys can decide which one looks better for you, because at the end of the day, this is going to be for you. Another thing to bear in mind right now is the battery started both on 100%, so I'll tell you what remains at the end of this test, because we're going to do various tests like 4K 60, slow-mo and all that stuff. Another thing to notice as well is the audio. So right now you can sort of tell the audio differences between both, and I think this is perfect because we can sort of measure what that sounds like with the cars driving past. There's an alarm going off over there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is it still picking up my voice well? Which one do you prefer? It'd be nice to know. Obviously you can hook up things like your DJI Mic 2 to the Action 5 Pro, or even the GoPro Hero 13 Black as well, so you can sort of get better audio using that connectivity if you wish to do so. It sounds like they're actually trying to test me now, because that alarm is getting louder and louder. But anyway, we're going to switch off the log profile on both and actually shoot to see what that looks like in terms of color, the skin tone on my face, dynamic range on this, and so on and so forth. All right, so I've taken it off where I was mounting it, and now there's no log profile. It's just literally just standard on both 4K 60. Also, they're both matching in terms of settings, so like sharpness, as closely as I can have them both. So they're basically side by side. So let me know what you guys think right now. So we have skin tone test here, which is obviously darker skin here. Let me know what you think. Do they look good? The yellow on the jacket here, what does that look like? Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. I think for me, they both look good at the end of the day. So it's just a matter of things like your dynamic range and stuff like that. So if I kind of went up to see how quickly they adjust to the lighting as well. So let us know what you think there. So bright sky, backlit behind me, basketball net up top there, to see how quickly that adjusts in terms of the brightness on them. So that will be kind of interesting to see as well. So this is recording. I love this screen thing on the front as well on the Action 5 Pro. The fact that I can still control stuff using that, I think that's pretty cool that they've added that.
Some slow-mo shots. We've luckily found some demo people to help us demo that. So yeah, let's see how that goes. So that was a quick 4K 120 frames per second on both, on standard, no log or anything like that. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. So as you can see, we have this plenty of graffiti here, which is colorful. So this is a good time to test how the colors look in comparison. So I think just looking on screen is hard to tell, but I'll leave that to you guys to decide which one you prefer. Again, just let us know in the comments below. Right, so we've been recording for about an hour. So the GoPro is now on 76% and the DJI is on 87%. There's like a 10% discrepancy between the both, even though we unplugged them. Well, I unplugged them both at 100%, and we've been recording, testing 4K 120, 4K 60, just recording out and about. So I didn't want to plug it there and just let them run out doing nothing. I wanted to use it the way that I would use it if I was out and about filming stuff, and to see which one's better on the battery life. And so far, I think the DJI is doing well on battery.
So next up, let's test some stabilization, and obviously there's no better way to test stabilization than a line bike in London, and I've attached it to the wobbly part.
And we've also got the cobbled street stones and stuff, so stabilization should be a good challenge here to see how well it handles. So yeah, let's go for a ride and compare. Again, guys, let us know which one looks better.
Next up, let's have a look at some low light videos as well.
So that's pretty much it for the GoPro and the new DJI Action 5 Pro. So over to you, what do you think? Which one do you think is for you? Let me know in the comments below. And I hope I've covered most of the things that you might be worried about or you might be thinking about. But if you still have any questions though, do drop them below and I'll do my best to answer those questions. But yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe, share, like, see you in the next one.